All right, guys, welcome to the Wrenched Out Reviews. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and today we're going to talk about the 3DR Solo, so stay tuned. All right, guys, thanks for tuning back into the Wrenched Out Reviews. Today we're diving into the 3DR Solo drone. So we've used this drone for about 3 years. It was the first drone that we piloted, and we really started to utilize the drone footage during kind of when drones were still kind of that cool and unique thing. Now there's so many great drones on the market, but I wanted to talk about this drone specifically because we've used this guy for quite some time. It's done a fantastic job. It's also at a great price point right now. So I'll leave some links to not only the drone, but also some of the other items that you're gonna need with this down below, so check that out. So let's talk about the drone real quick. The 3DR drone is a fairly simple drone compared to what's out on the market now. The drone itself is pretty big. It does have lower lights here. Let's turn it on real quick. And it has what is kind of a standard. So you heard it turn on. It does have the lights on the front and the rear that do light up. It's green and it'll change over. And then there are other additional accessories. I know that at one point you could hook a light to it, and then you can get guards for the propellers and a couple other items. One specific item that we did purchase for it are these leg little clip-ons that add probably a ½ inch to the height so the camera on it doesn't hit the ground. This also does have the gimbal on it when you purchase this, so if you're looking at getting into the drone market, this is definitely an affordable option, especially if you have a GoPro 3 or GoPro 4. That's the GoPros it uses. It does not use the GoPro 5 as the gimbal doesn't mount to it. A couple of things with it as well. Let me shut this off so it doesn't start making some noise. Obviously, if you're familiar with the GoPros at all, that's what this uses. So if you get a black, you can shoot in 4K. In fact, I've shot quite a bit of footage in 4K because the GoPros do such a phenomenal job. So what does it come with? It comes with a set of these propellers. These are pretty standard with all of them. They're just the screw-on propellers, and they're indicated on the motors here, whether it's silver or black. So you have one for each side, which is similar to what the DJI setup has. Now they have the click-on propellers that they just started doing. Another thing is battery life. So let's talk real briefly about that. These have the intelligent batteries, or that's what they're called. You can click it once, see this battery's dead. Click it twice, turns it on. These run pretty much, it's kind of amazing to tell you the truth. These are 5200 milliamp batteries, and you get about 25 to 30 minutes of flight time depending on how hard you're pushing the unit. So it does a pretty good job. Originally when these came out, these were about 150 bucks each. Now I've seen them as low as 50 bucks. Again, I'll put links to these below. So you can actually get quite a few of these batteries and get out and do some drone work or drone photography or videography for fairly inexpensive now. You are limited to the GoPros though. A couple other items. This is the charger for it, so it's a pretty standard charger. It is unique on the ends. It has some prongs on it. And let's kind of dive into it a little bit. Let me kind of walk up to the camera here. So if you can see this right here, there's some counterweights that go on the top of the gimbal. And the gimbal, I'll put the links to this below. I don't know what this is going for now. I highly suggest if you're gonna buy the 3DR unit, get the gimbal. It's gonna make a world of difference. And what it is, the gimbal itself is what controls the up and down motion, so you can move the camera around. I highly suggest that if you're gonna even mess with this at all. And then it just clicks into the ports. It does charge it. And the display, when you go to watch the flight on this, it is viewed through the app on your phone. Now the app works just like every other app, so I'm not gonna go into any details on that. It's pretty simple. They do have some cool functions, such as you can set waypoints and then have it fly in one area. You can do orbit, you can do tracking, depending on your area and the GPS. It also does do the FAA warning stuff that all of the drones essentially are doing now, at least in the US. So let's talk about the remote real quick. Pretty standard looking RC remote. The little display here gives you a little bit of footage, or not footage, excuse me, gives you a little bit of information. You do have an HDMI if you want to have a different type of monitor. Other than that, I used this with my cell phone. Most of the time you can twist the head around and then this does adjust a little bit here. You cannot fit a full-size iPad in here, as I tried, and it was, well, you could without a case, but for the most part, it's so tight that you're not gonna get a full-size iPad, but a mini will work fine. The transmission in flight with this, it's similar to any other drone on the market, as I now have a DJI. I've had flown that for quite a while at this point. I'm gonna do a review on that too. And then I've flown other drones as well. All of them are fairly similar as far as the motor skills on flying them around using the joysticks and whatnot. They are customizable. You do have some customizing options with this guy. The remote itself is comfortable. It does last quite a while. I actually never ran out of juice on it, but I did charge it after multiple flights. I do have 3 batteries, so I was flying, generally speaking, if I was at a location where I wanted to shoot some drone footage, I would shoot for the full 90 minutes. This thing lasted it, no problems. As far as the frequency and everything else, there are some antenna options I know out in the marketplace to give you better antennas. You are limited though with distance on this unit versus some of the newer units as it's kind of older technology. So this is the 3DR drone. I mean, really, it's a nice setup. It's very cost effective right now if you're looking to get into the drone market below that $1,000 price line, especially if you have a GoPro 3 or a GoPro 4 that you're also using for other things. So if you're using that for some of your activities and whatnot, this is a perfect unit for you because now you can just hook it to this when you're done. You take it off and use it for anything else. That's what drew us to this in the beginning. Now, this doesn't have any of the side sensors or lower sensors, so essentially it's on you and your flying abilities when you're using this. So I would highly suggest, if you're gonna jump on the 3DR, that you do some very simple flights for at least the first 6 months, go to some fields. That's pretty much the best place because you don't want to get it too far out there, especially out of the viewing window of whatever you're doing. So don't send it off into somewhere and then lose sight of where it is, because yes, you can still see whatever the camera sees on your phone. That's absolutely true. You do get warnings. So it does have the software that comes with it and that you have on your phone or your iPad mini or your Android. It does tell you when you've gone too far. It does have return to home functions, and it has essentially all of the functions that are on the market today. What really reminds me of the software on this is the new GoPro Karma. It has essentially all of the features that the GoPro Karma has, and in fact, I believe that GoPro looked at these guys, or these guys made a deal with GoPro, something behind the scenes there, because when the GoPro Karma launched, it was essentially all the software was so similar to what the 3DR was, and they had an exclusive deal with GoPro when they came out as the camera of choice for it. So now 3DR is just in the technology software side of things. They've got some really cool stuff coming out. However, the drone side of it, they stepped away from as far as manufacturing a drone. So you can, again, get these for a smoking price right now on the internet or at your local Best Buy. Links below, so check those out. A couple of things I would suggest with this. Obviously, if you're gonna get into the drone market, you gotta go to the FAA website, read up on your area, so you understand. You gotta fly safe, don't do anything crazy, don't fly around airports, don't fly over people. I'm not gonna dive into a lot of that at this time, but I highly suggest that you get on your local FAA website and read up all the rules and regulations in your area before you fly anything, or even consider getting a drone. So a couple of things, like I said earlier, what I would highly suggest if you're gonna get into this drone or any drone is to get multiple batteries. This is just, you're gonna hate life if you get to an area where it's a beautiful day, or you're with your family or whatever it is, the activity that you got your drone for, and then your battery dies, footage is gone, everything's over. So get a couple of extra batteries. The other thing for this unit is make sure that you get, you don't need extra batteries for your GoPro, but make sure that you have a very large memory card. I'll put links to some memory cards that I would use down below as well for your GoPro, because it's very, very important that you get out there and you don't lose anything. The other cool thing is you can turn the feature on with your phone so the recording goes to your phone as well. Now that recording is not shot in the higher HD settings, whatever you set your camera to or your GoPro to. However, it is in 720p, so you do have that saved to your phone in addition to what's on the GoPro itself. So that's pretty cool. A couple other features. With any drone, I would highly suggest, especially if you're a brand new pilot, get some extra propellers. These are fairly cheap now. I still have a couple of dozen sets. I know that when I first started getting kind of the controls and the movements down, you'll end up needing them. So I would highly suggest those. Again, if you're in an area or know someone that has a field, that's where I would start messing around with some of the mobility and the takeoffs and kind of the unique shots that you're thinking about doing in the future. Definitely don't go to a crowded place. Don't fly over people. Don't do anything that is going to jeopardize yourself or others when you're flying a drone. So another accessory I would suggest, because this is a bigger drone, obviously it's not a Mavic or a Spark or one of these little tiny drones that either folds up. The Karma is a great example too. It folds up and it's really nice. This isn't that. This is a larger drone. As you can see here, it's all the hard plastic. Nothing folds up on this guy. With the wings on it, I mean, you're talking, it takes, or with the propellers on it, I mean, you're talking quite a bit of space. So when you go to store this, obviously you take the propellers off. 3DR does make a bag. I don't know if it's still available, but it looks like this. It's a hard shell bag. If I can find it, I'll put the link to this below as well. This is pretty cool, and I'll show you why real quick. It looks like this on the inside. So the drone itself fits in, and then you've got spots for extra batteries. You can throw a charger in and the controller in. And obviously you should have your FAA hobbyist license or your Pro UA 107 license with you at all times when you're going to fly. You also have this little pocket right here, which you can put extra stuff. Here's the charger, just a little simple charger for the controller. I always keep extra stuff with me just in case. And that's pretty much the 3DR Solo. Now, the imaging, like I said, is a GoPro. So obviously, if you're shooting or have shot with a GoPro Hero 3 or 4, you know what the footage looks like, you know what settings you like. You don't have to go in and alter that. If you're shooting in 4K with it, then that's the footage you're gonna get with it, obviously with the exception of flying a drone around. It also goes the same for the 1080. You can do whatever settings fits your GoPro. It is a full size, does not fit the Session. But those are your options. I've wanted to do this for a little while, and I'm not sure why I kept delaying. But all in all, for the price right now on this, I think this is a fantastic drone, especially if you have one of those GoPros. Why? Because it's super cost effective, and this thing does a really good job. It has a lot, the software has a lot of the same features as the big guys that are on the market right now. The controller is customizable, so you can actually change some of the settings in here. It also has the pause, return to home, the auto fly, so you hit that and it takes off. It'll give you warnings. It has the GPS stuff, so you do have to wait for it when you boot it up on there. It is a 3DR Solo software, so you can actually go on there. It does run off of GPS. You don't have to have cell signal. You do need to have GPS. You can fly without it, but I would definitely pay close attention, because if you're doing that, it goes off. Even if it's not very far, it ends up, you hit something, you're not gonna be able to track it down. Again, that's a 3DR Solo. Thank you guys for tuning in. The links for all of the equipment is below. We've got a lot of fantastic stuff coming here in the near future. Thanks for checking out the Wrenched Out Experiment and Wrenched Out Reviews. We got a lot of cool things coming, like I just said. Also check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.